So you finally achieved enlightenment. After years of trying in yoga and meditation, you finally got some light in your head. And now you're walking around like the man, feeling like a living God, wanting to tell everybody about what just happened. But watch out, because these are the 7 mistakes spiritual people make. Mistake number 1, and this is a good one. It is developing a big ego. The fact of the matter is, enlightenment is something that quite literally anybody can achieve if they're willing to give it enough time and effort. There's nothing really all that special about what you've done. Sure, you might have just spent the last several hours powering up in your grandmother's basement, but that's not what other people see. What they see is a mentally unstable and quite possibly disturbed individual who needs psychiatric help. So you're really better off keeping all of this to yourself. Which gets us to mistake number 2. And it's a good one too. It is following all the gurus. Sure, that old man may have some wisdom to depart. But the fact of the matter is, he may have more carnal interests at heart. All the stories you hear about gurus getting up to all kinds of shenanigans with their followers, getting into legal trouble, and having all kinds of other issues are in fact true, which is why so many of them wind up here. The simple fact of the matter is, if you've achieved some degree of enlightenment, you are now the esoteric equivalent of an adult, and you don't really need anyone else telling you how to live your life. In addition to that, most of these big-name guys don't really want to talk to you anyway. This leads us to mistake number 3. And boy, is mistake number 3 a doozy. It is not making a living. While you may think what you're doing is the most important thing in the world, the simple fact of the matter is society really doesn't care. So while you're tripping on Pluto, the fact of the matter is you're probably not paying your rent. And if you're not paying your rent, well, that one's kind of on you. You got to remember, the clock is always turning no matter what happens. And more frequently than not, you end up looking like this guy, or this guy, rather than looking like somebody that should be revered and respected. So just understand that there's always an opportunity cost to whatever we do. And if you don't keep an eye on these things, you may find out that you've actually missed out on a whole lot more that you could have done if you'd been more focused. This gets us to mistake number 4, and it's a common one. Thinking that somehow you are being of the world and not in it. Just because you've detached yourself from reality a little bit doesn't mean reality has detached itself from you. The simple fact of the matter is, the life goes on without you everywhere else, and it goes on pretty quick. While you're out there finding yourself, your friends, on the other hand, are in law school or graduating with that CPA. They're getting all their whole act together, and they're out there starting businesses and taking over the world. And sure, this probably isn't for you if you're going down this path. But keep in mind that you're also missing out on really important stuff involving other people who do in fact care about you. Most notably, your family. And we're going to get to that part in a bit. But realize life goes on without you even if you're not there. Now this is one of my favorite mistakes. Mistake number 5. And this is somehow thinking drugs can make you enlightened. The fact of the matter is, drugs are much more likely to line you up underneath the bridge wondering what happened to your pants than they are to result in some kind of permanent form of enlightenment. They're the source of many bad decisions in life, not the least of which is ending up in Egypt like this guy. But that's a story for a different time. The simple fact of the matter is, drugs cannot leave you permanently empowered and permanently enlightened. That is something that only comes as a result of your own hand. And if it doesn't come as a result of your effort, the simple fact of the matter is it's highly unlikely to be permanent or to leave you in a fully empowered state. It's more than likely to end up breaking you at some point in time, and this can result in all kinds of other problems. This leads to mistake number 6, and this one is tragic at times, and it is blowing off your family. Like we talked about before, the clock is always turning regardless of where you are and what you are doing. Now, everybody in your family already knows you're a weirdo. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten this far, and they're okay with that. The fact that you dance by yourself to your own drum is something they are already very familiar with and have already learned how to live with. The real trouble comes in when you've been gone so long that people start asking, "Who are you?" And it's not just the weird hair or the weird clothes or the weird tattoo you got. The tragic part is if you're gone long enough, sooner or later you're going to end up missing out on something that you're really going to regret. Enlightenment can happen in your bedroom just as quickly as it can on top of a mountain. And you really should keep this in mind. And this comes to mistake number 7, perhaps the most important one. The reality is no one cares. No one cares what you're doing. And they don't care what you're doing precisely because while you're out there, you doing you, they are also out there doing what they do. The simple fact of the matter is people are going to love you for all kinds of reasons. They're usually not going to love you because of whatever you're doing out in the woods or on a mountaintop or in a monastery someplace. So this also leads to the final point of this little discussion, and that is simply that because no one cares, you are completely free to achieve enlightenment on your own. And the simple fact of the matter is, if that's what you want to do, that's absolutely what you should do. Hey, you, hit the subscribe button. You know, the button where you subscribe to the channel. Just hit it right now. Right now, hit the subscribe button. See you later, and be well.